In the beginning, when you don't have many markers, you dream of the day when you have a full collection of several brands.
I will own all the colors.
Except, here's the thing nobody tells you. You can never own all the colors. Sure, if you hit the lottery, you can buy every marker ever made, but even if you do, you still won't own all the colors. Because there are some colors they simply don't make. And nobody knows this more than the people who love purple. Today, I'll explain why this is my favorite purple marker. We have a little problem in the marker community. It's not something everyone notices. You may have been working with Copics or another brand of alcohol marker for years, and maybe this is the first you're hearing about it. It's an if you know kind of thing. And even after I explain it, some of you will shrug and say, no big deal. Some of you are fine, but I personally cry out in anguish over this at least once a week. Stuff like this catches me because Copic makes the markers to color this, and they make the markers to color this. But what markers would you use here?
Oh, uh-oh.
See, it's a problem. I color a lot of flowers, florals and botanicals, and a lot of food too, natural stuff. You don't really realize just how many things are purple until you start coloring with alcohol markers, and then we're reminded constantly. Because of all the things Copic does really well, purple is not one of them. And it's not just Copic. This is a marker problem, not a Copic problem.
But Amy, Copic makes a whole family of V markers.
You're right. Copic makes violet markers. What Copic doesn't make is purple markers.
Wait, aren't they the same thing?
Nope. Let's look at a color wheel to see what I'm talking about. So if we find cyan on the wheel and then we move southward, we're going into the indigo zone. Cyan and indigo are in the blue family of markers. Then the next color is violet. This is the V family for violet. Now over here we have magenta, and this is the RV red-violet family. But this color right here, it's not violet and it's not red-violet. It's purple. Our flower gardens and the produce section at the grocery store, they're full of this color. Our marker collections, on the other hand, are not, which is why when I go to color something like this allium flower, I spend half my time cursing the marker gods. I draw and color flowers, and there isn't a week that goes by when I don't have to compromise. If I want violet, I'm good. If I want pink, there's 29 shades to choose from. But where are the purples? Once you're aware of the problem, you'll start noticing real purple everywhere. We like to think that modern chemistry makes everything possible. But there's gotta be something going on here, because most purple markers are actually violet. Where is the real purple? Alcohol markers are made with dye, so my guess is that either the purple dyes that we have, maybe they fade really fast, or perhaps the purple dye itself isn't shelf stable. Maybe purple dye is like super expensive, and the marker companies know that nobody will ever buy a $20 purple marker. Try me, Copic. I'm your girl. I will pay extra for decent purple markers.
But Amy, I have a purple marker right here.
Yes, there are a few truly purple markers floating around. So take V06 for instance. Nice purple. But step below that and the colors go fluorescent and pink. Step above that and that's not purple. We're back to violet again. And that's pretty much what I see in other marker palettes from other brands. It's one of the first things I look at when someone introduces a new brand of marker. Can this product solve my purple problem? You'll see a nice dark purple, but then nothing to blend it with lighter. Or you'll see a light purple, but no darker versions. A one-off purple here, a one-off purple there. There's gotta be something going on with purple ink, because they don't make a lot of V markers to begin with, and then the purples in that group are really rare. And that's ironic given the history of purple dye. Purple was treasured by the ancient Phoenicians, and then the Romans made a big deal of it, and the Mexicans had their own version of purple dye. Purple is not new. It's everywhere around us, and yet it's nowhere in our marker collections. So as I said, I don't know why, but I tend to color a lot of purple stuff. Over the years, I've had to develop a workaround. How do I color stunning purples without a purple marker? The first thing to note, and this is after you spend years avoiding the color purple, I did that. Anyway, if you're going to do purple, you can't do it naturally. Natural blending combinations, at least in Copic, they all start with the same first number. And that's where the lesson ends with a lot of Copic instructors, because they don't bother asking why they all share the same first number. The reason is because this marker here and this marker here are both made with the same ingredients. Everything's the same. The only thing that changes is how much blender they blend into the mix. So take this ink and add colorless blender to it, and you'll make this marker. Add more blender and you'll make this marker. And we can keep making new, lighter versions of the same marker all the way down to quad 0. They all share the same first number because they're made with the same stuff. In theory, the problem is sometimes Copic lies. And here in their one and only purple group, they are lying so bad. Like I said, this marker here, it's a good medium purple. Add a bit of colorless blender and you'll get this one here. But then Copic switches the formula on us because there's no way this marker and this marker share the same baby mama. Same here. Someone's sleeping with the Amazon delivery driver because these two markers are not related. So even if we wink and call this a natural blending combination, the blend is terrible. These two markers are way too far apart, and these two markers, they're too far apart to blend too. It's just, the blends are awful. And this is why with a lot of Copic colorists, we just give up on real purple. Most of us, we end up using the V-Teen family, and we pretend it's purple. But it's not. It's violet. But hey, we're good at avoiding reality when we want to. But no, I am done pretending. I want real purple. So here's my recipe. See, you start with the compromise, and then throw a little bit of purple into that blend. And if I need something darker, I'll hop over and add RV99 at the start. It works pretty good. This is a decent purple blend with no hints of violetness. But this is a large blend, and there's actually something easier. So let's use my favorite purple marker, which isn't even a marker. Okay, so this is my secret to amazing purples. Prismacolor Premier, the Softcore series, number 994 Process Red. Now this color is also available in their Verithin line, 743 and a half. But that's more of a drawing pencil, and it's a bit firm for coloring large areas. Process Red is a misleading name. It's not actually red. Process refers to the printing process, and in printing, we use the CMY color wheel. So the primary colors there are referred to as process blue, process yellow, and process red. Basically, for our purposes, process red is magenta. And just to confuse you further, Prismacolor Magenta is actually kind of red, so it doesn't work as well for what I'm about to do. Process red. Here are some similar colors from other pencil lines. What we're looking for is a magenta color, but not just any magenta. We want a pencil that's mostly transparent. We want it to allow the colors that are below it to shine through. So you don't want a light pink pencil here because that'll have a lot of opaque white pigment in it. Transparent and magenta-ish. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going back to the old natural Copic standby, V17, V15, V112, but this time I'm going to give it a light buffing layer of processed red over the top. Now this is technically called glazing, but what we're really doing is just creating a filter. We're seeing the values of violet markers through a layer of warm magenta, and if you do this smoothly and softly, nobody will ever know what you're up to or that you're not using purple markers. I've been doing this for years, and nobody's ever been the wiser about it until I decided to share the method. The other thing that I do, and you'll see it going on here in the Giant Allium project, is that I play with temperature. So in some areas of the flower globe, you're going to see a very cool or a blue-leaning violet. That's the V17 and the V15 with a violet filter over the top. I'm using violet or Parma violet. But then I'll punch in warmer purples right next to the violet. So that'd be processed red and sometimes Derwent Lightfast purple. Those pencils lean towards magenta. It's the interplay of warm versus cool that makes the purples seem purpler and the violets more violetish. The green in there is also done on purpose. I mean, yeah, flowers have green stems and green leaves, but even if this was a purple kangaroo, I would still work green into the image. Green sits opposite of purple on the color wheel, and opposites enhance the flavor of each other. So the presence of green makes the purple look more purple, even though I made it with violet ingredients. The last thing I'm doing here to make purple when Copic won't. In the image, I'm using a very wide value range. So my darkest purple is actually RV99, and it's got a filter of both Derwent Lightfast purple and Prismacolor moss green over the top of it. These three colors together are giving me a very warm purplish black. Then in the lightest of the lights, I've got V12 and V00 with a very light filter of processed red. So we're moving from an almost black purple to an almost white purple. It's a feast for the eyes, and that's another chance to offer people every possible purple. So even if you zone in on one tiny section and say, that looks kind of pink there, or, that's more violet, because I'm serving you a full range of temperatures and values, you're more likely to cut me some slack when not every purple is maximum purple. And this brings me to another tip for you. I'm creating purple through the use of filters, but there's more than one way to do this. I used to base coat my purple zones with a pink RV marker, and then I would add V17 and V15 over the top of that. You could color a full magenta flower and filter it with purple and violet pencils. And if I think about it, there are other possible solutions. You could color a blue flower and then lay pinks and red pencils over the top of it. For a different approach, you could start on blue paper and color it with RV markers. And if you don't have blue paper, you could lay down transparent watercolor to make it blue. Copic may not make good purples, but that doesn't mean we can't. Remember, coloring is supposed to be an art form, but it's not really art if you're never experimenting and inventing new ways to create the colors that you see in your mind and you feel in your heart. If you want a color and the marker company doesn't make it, you're not stuck. You just gotta wander off the path a bit until you figure out how to make it happen. There's always more than one way to get to where you want to go. Find your own purple path. That's the art of coloring. The giant allium project that you see here was created for my independent advanced membership, the Underpainters. Every month, we play and experiment with new concepts and alternative artistic mindsets. And for more tips on working with violet markers, check out the problem with blending combinations here.